wonderful tool. I have to say that I was not an early adopter, but I have become a convert. And today we're going to look at various aspects of Google Drive and how you might find it useful in your program. Okay, and this is me, Maria Moriarty. I probably know many of you already, and you know me. Oh great, everybody can hear me. That's good. I'm just looking at my chat there, and everybody can hear me. I've been in the adult literacy field for over 20 years, in and around the adult literacy field. Lately, my work has been very much focused on IT planning and coaching. I work with programs across the province, and what I essentially do is facilitate presentations and workshops on how to use digital technology from a very practical standpoint. I also provide people with resources and information. I notice as I'm looking at this picture of myself that it's a few years old. I'm even better looking now, but I probably should update my picture. So this is what we're going to do today. We've gone through the housekeeping tips. Again, if you have any question, just put it into the question box. We're going to take a tour of Google Drive, and we're going to look at some examples of how Google Drive could be used in a literacy program for administration and for teaching and learning. I've also put together a set of links and resources that you can follow up with after the webinar, and I will also send those to you by email. And then at the end we would ask you to fill out our feedback survey. It's very important to us to know how we're doing and to improve the way that we work with the field. And the objective today is really to look at the usefulness of Google Drive for you and for your program. As I say, it's a pretty nifty utility, but it's only as useful as it is useful for you in your program. So what is it? What is Google Drive? It's a free service from Google. You get 30 gigabytes of free storage. You can buy extra storage if you want to store a lot of videos or images or PDFs, but really the 30 gigs that you get is more than adequate, I think, for most of what we're doing in terms of storing documents. So we're going to take a good look at Google Drive, at some of the features and the benefits, and as I say, think about how you could use it in your program. With Google Drive, you can store files online, and you can literally access them from anywhere using the cloud. It's pretty straightforward. You have access to free web-based applications with which you can create documents, you can create spreadsheets, you can create presentations, and my favorite, and we'll get to that, is you can create forms to conduct surveys, quizzes, etc. It's pretty easy to set up Google Drive. As I say, I wasn't an early adopter, and I was surprised at how completely easy it was when I decided to try it out and use it. All you need is a Gmail or a Google account, and through Google Drive you have access, direct access, to a whole suite of tools. Google Maps, Google Play, YouTube, Gmail, Calendar, and they keep adding features to it and utilities. To get a Google account, you just need to sign in. You need to go and just create a password and a sign-in for yourself. And if you have a Gmail address, you already have a Google account, so you don't need to create another one. Whoops, I think I went one too many there, sorry. Yeah, whoops. Now I went too far back. Okay, using Google Drive. What you do is you go to Drive, and I'm going to go there later so you can follow me, or you click on this little gridiron that you find at the top of any Google page, and then you click on Drive, and then you're in once you have your account or your Gmail account. And this is what you'll see. My Drive, things that are shared with me, Google Photos is right up there, and then recent documents that you've worked on or important documents that you want to get up very quickly. You can get Google Drive on all of your devices. That means that you can have it on your computer, on your Android, on your iPad. There's an app in the Apple Store and there's an app in Google Play. You can install Google Drive on your computer or your Mac or PC. It is an exe file, so if you're in a situation where you need admin permissions, you're going to need them to install it on your computer. And you can get, as I say, the Google app for your iPad or your Android, and you can sync your files right across all of the devices that you have it on, so you can access your files anytime, anywhere. Now, whoops, I keep doing that. I'm so sorry. It's because I'm not using a mouse. I'm trying to train myself to use my trackpad. Working with Google Drive. So Google Drive, as I said, gives you access to a suite of tools, and you can create a range of files: documents, spreadsheets, presentations, forms, drawings, and much more. But we're going to focus today on the first four: documents, spreadsheets, presentations, and forms, because these are the tools that we're most likely to use in programs. And we will also take a quick look at Google Hangouts, because I think it, again, could be a very useful tool to connect with colleagues, and you can share Google Drive documents while you're in Google Hangouts chat. So we'll get there, and I will show you how it works. So first we're going to take a look at Google Docs. And this surprised me when I first opened it. It's actually very similar and looks a lot like Word, with all of the same tools, you know, all of the same editing tools, formatting tools. You can insert tables, you can do all of the things that you can do in Word, but you're within Google when you're doing it. So we will later go and look live at how you can work with a Google Doc, and it is pretty neat, actually. The next one I want to show you, just a screenshot of, is Google Forms. This is one of my favorites. With a Google form, you can create surveys and quizzes very easily. It's intuitive, and you can, as you'll see, the responses can be recorded so automatically in a Google Sheet. So it's a very, very useful tool. I've worked with a couple of programs who have started to use this for formative assessment or quick quizzes, and they find it just wonderful, and their students enjoy it as well. The next one is Google Sheets, and it again functions very much like Excel, and you can see that it has the same basic tools as Excel. You can use it for budgeting, to develop charts and graphs, to make a to-do list, to create attendance sheets, to make schedules, and it does have formulas, so it works exactly like Excel, in fact. I'm not really an Excel user to any great degree, so I don't know. I wouldn't want to say one is better than the other, but from what I understand, they're pretty similar. And Google Sheets does support all the formulas that you would typically find in a desktop spreadsheet program. So again, it's an alternative, I guess, to Excel. Google Slides is a presentation tool, very much like PowerPoint, which is what I'm using today. And I guess I should have done this presentation in Google Slides, but I got kind of nervous about compatibility with the webinar vehicle and so on. But Google Slides works exactly the same as PowerPoint. The thing I like about these Google tools is I can work collaboratively with colleagues in these tools. They're all editable, they're all shareable. So it makes it very easy to work collaboratively. The new Google Slides is constantly being upgraded, and they've just added a feature which is audience response, where you can actually have real-time interaction with an audience, with a group of students, for example, if you were doing a presentation or a lesson using Google Slides. And I hope to show you that later. They're promising us a laser printer. It hasn't shown up yet, but I expect it will show up any day. And Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts is a pretty wonderful utility. You can really conduct very smooth online meetings, and we do meet at Alpha Plus a lot on Google Hangouts. You can share links in the chat box. You can share Google Drive documents while you're in a chat. It's audio, video, and text chat all rolled into one. So it's a pretty useful way if you want to meet with colleagues at a distance or you want to have a quick meeting on the fly. So again, we'll go and take a look at that in a little later. So not a little later, we're going to go right now. What I want to do now is go online and go to Google Drive, my Drive, and we'll take a look at editing some documents, at how Google Forms works, and Google Slides and Sheets. And then we'll take a look at some other features in Google Drive that you might not use as often, but are also pretty wonderful. So bear with me for a minute. I'm just going to go to my Drive. So here we go. Got my Drive open already. So there we are. We're in, it's an Alpha Plus Drive because we all share it. This is my piece of Drive. And for today, I created a folder. You'll see a bunch of folders there at the top. I put documents into folders so I can keep track of what I'm doing. So for example, I have a lot of documents related to the OALCF, things I'm working on or informational pieces. I keep them all here. I will be doing a presentation at the College Sector Committee in June. So this is my folder where I'm gathering materials for my presentation. You can see over here on the left-hand side, this is what I see every time I open my Drive. So if, for example, I can create a folder, I can upload a file right from my computer, I can upload a folder, I can create Google Doc, Google Sheet, Google Slides, I'm just going to go to more, Google Forms, Google Drawings, Google My Maps. I can even connect other Google apps to my Drive if I need to or want to. And this little button down here is the upgrade storage. Again, if you want to purchase more storage, if you think you're going to be wanting to store lots of videos or images or PDFs. But for today, I created a folder of Google Drive. It's called Google Drive Webinar. So I'm going to open that. Ooh, it opened. How wonderful. And what I have in here are 4 sample items that I thought we could take a look at in some depth so you can see what docs, what Google Forms, Google Slides, and Google Sheets looks like in action. So the first one is a Google Doc, and each of them has their own little logo. So you don't even have to remember what they're called if you can remember the logo. So this is called Complaint Letter, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Okay, it's coming, it's coming. There it is. What I did was I went into the task portal, the LBS, I can never remember the full name, but we call it the Quill portal for short. And I took a task from in there, which relates to writing a letter, a complaint letter. Students can write it in letter form or in email form. This seemed like a good example because I'm going to do a lot of editing in here if I decide to do this task. Sorry, I'm just going to take a quick drink of water so I won't keep coughing. And I just want to point out something to you. I shared this with my colleague Matthias earlier today so he could work on it. And you can see that he's been in there. There he is. He's he's editing in this document now. I have a complaint. Thank you very much, Matthias, for the vote of confidence. Okay, I'm going to answer him right in the doc. Oops, and I'm messing up here like crazy. And I'm telling him I would like both. So we can work on this document together in real time. I can also, I just need to move something here so I can show this to you. There are various ways that I can deal with this document. I can edit it directly. Right now, I'm just going to get rid of this for a minute. Come on. I can take suggestions, or I can print it and save it. I just need to get to that. And here you can see that Matthias has been in and he's been doing some work in this document. So you can see how easy it is to work in a document with somebody else. I can go right in, just click, I'm adding, I'm making spaces, I'm just moving things down, I'm making more room for myself to write. Just fooling around in here just so you can see how easy it is. And I'm going to ask Matthias to make a suggestion rather than edit the document so you can see how that works. He's going to suggest something to me that I might do. And I think that this could be a very helpful thing. What if, for instance, you had students working in Google Docs within Drive, and you asked them to write something. They needed to write a short essay or a paragraph, and send it to you, share it with you. You can then make suggestions as to how it might be changed. You can edit it, although you probably wouldn't want to directly edit somebody else's work, but it's the suggestion feature that I find very interesting for sharing documents with students. Now here's Matthias. Matthias, what is he saying? Can you make a suggestion, Matthias? So we can see it. So I think this is a pretty interesting way to think about using Google Docs and Drive. You can really think of it as a way to work on a document with a student. The student sends you the document, you take a look at it, you make suggestions about possible changes. The student does the editing right in the document and sends it back to you, or just shares it with you. So I think it's a pretty useful feature, and I think it's one that you might find very helpful in the classroom. Now I'm going to go right back. I'm going to go out of here and take a look at, whoops, the forms. And the forms are a great little feature. You can see this. It's very easy to use. I created it. I just put in a new title, Google Drive Quiz, and 2 questions. I chose multiple choice, so I have 2 questions. I could add other options, but I'm going to say, is Google Drive is free? No or yes. If I say yes, whoops, if it'll let me say yes. And then I would be able to go to my responses and see if, in fact, people were responding and what the responses were. So you can see how you could use this in a classroom setting. You could make a quick quiz. Let's start a new one. Okay, it's starting now. I just need to title it. So let's go Google Quiz. I can put in a description if I want. I don't have to. I'm going to put easy quiz. Then I go for my untitled question. Let's see what my question would be. Is Google Drive free? Question mark, and I need to get rid of that default title. Oops. Now you're seeing how bad my typing is. And I want to make it multiple choice, but I have other options. I could make it check boxes, I could have drop down, I could have a multiple choice grid. I'm going to choose multiple choice. I could have short answer, a short text answer. So my option 1, oops, is going to be yes. Then I can add as many options as I want. I can make questions required or not required. And I can do this pretty neat thing, which I can, if I do my quiz in sections, I can, in those sections, put in other text. So if, for example, I was asking a question, and if a student gave me the incorrect answer, that response could be directed to a specific section in the form where there might be a suggestion as to how to review that material again. So you can use it very effectively as a way to support students to understand where they're at and what they need to work on. So I think it's, again, a pretty useful tool and one that's fairly easy to use. If I want to get rid of it, I can duplicate it. I can make as many of it as I want. And if I want to get rid of it, I just go like that, and it's gone. So it's, again, something that I think is worth checking out with your students. And of course, throughout all of this, I should be pointing out to you that you don't have to hit save. All changes are saved in Drive continuously. So you don't use, it's very difficult to lose material. If I want to change, if I want to title the form, I called it Google Quiz. Once I clicked on Untitled Form, there it is. It's titled for me. So again, it helps me not to lose it. So again, I think this is one that's well worth looking at. I think it could be very, very useful for students and for instructors. Whoops, where am I going now? What I'd like to do is go to sample presentations. This is Google Slides. And again, you can see it looks very much like PowerPoint. Perhaps it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's very easy to use. And you can see you do exactly the same things. You add, you insert slides, you can format them, you can arrange them. They've just released a new feature that goes with Google Slides, which is audience response. You'll see here, oops, what's it doing to me? You'll see that, I'm just going to cancel this. You can see that I have an addition here called Poll Everywhere. That's a third-party utility. But just last week, Google introduced an audience response tool. So now you don't even need to use a third party. You just go into Present, get Presenter View, and it takes a second, and then you get your new, when you get your audience can actually respond to you as you're presenting. So here I'm just going to click Start New. Questions appear here. When I get a question, I'd get an alert if I got a question in this presentation. If I was using Google Slides, I would get an alert that there was a question that I could respond to right on screen. So that's pretty neat. I think there are many ways that I can see this being used in the classroom. once I've opened it, I would tell people in my audience to take a note of this link, goo.gl, etc., etc. That's where they would post their questions or their responses to what I was saying. I would get those responses right on my screen. The whole audience could see them and I could answer those questions or address those responses. So it could make for a very interactive presentation, all within Google Slides. You don't have to get anything else, you don't have to do anything else, it's built right in. So I'm very keen to try that in real life. I haven't tried it yet because they just released that particular feature. Now I want to take a look at Google Sheets. And again, what I did was I just used it in a very simple way. I used it as a daily schedule. And so just as I would use Excel, I would enter whatever I have to do on Tuesday. Prepare for webinar. There it is. That's what I have to do today. Tomorrow, I am going to recover from webinar. I'm just being facetious, but you know what I mean. So not even dealing with all of the wonderful math and calculation that you can do in Sheets. It can be used for very simple, very useful tools as well, such as schedules, to-do lists, attendance, budgets. And again, I want to point out to you that all the changes are continuously saved. It's automatically saved. So I don't have to worry about, it also gives me a revision history if I want it, but I'm not particularly interested in that right now. But it means that I'm not constantly concerned about losing it. It lives in Drive, it's safe in there, I can access it from anywhere, anytime. I can share it with anybody just as I could share the Google Doc or Google Slides or Google Forms. I can make comments. I'm just going to open up that box. I can comment in here. This is, doesn't seem to be working for me right now, but I'm sure it will if I enable it. I think this is a pretty good alternative to Excel. These are the things that I can do with it. I can share it. I can rename it. I can make a copy. I can see the revision history. I can download it. I can download it as a Microsoft Excel sheet, as a PDF document. I can publish it to the web if I want to, or I can move it to trash. So I have a lot of options as to what I can do with this, and it's all, again, within Drive. I'm not going to lose it. It's not going anywhere, and I can access it from anywhere. So I'm just going to stop for a minute, and does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any opinion about Drive, how you might use it in your class? Any ideas about how you might find it useful for the work that you're doing? Let's give you a minute or two. Do I have any takers? What's your opinion of it? Good, bad, not so good, not so bad? Okay. Open up. Questions pane. Whoops. So bad at the trackpad. It's just pathetic, really. Okay. Okay, I have quite a bit of response here. I see it being useful for instructors who are off-site. Absolutely, because it's so easy to share. If I share a document with 5 students who can comment and revise, everybody can if you give them permission. When you share it, when you share a document, you decide what they can do with it. You could make it so they can't edit it, or you can make it so they can. Okay, great. I'm glad that you like it, Susie, and that you'll use it. It's a very useful tool for working collaboratively. We use it at Alpha Plus. As I say, I wasn't an early adopter. You know, I am a Microsoft Office baby, and I was a committed, and I still am a fairly committed user of Dropbox. But I was convinced to try this, and I have to say I am impressed, and I do use it now on a daily basis. Now, Deborah, you say you've been using it with your board for 3 years, but you've never used Forms. Forms came after Docs and Sheets and slides and everything. But it is well worth exploring as a tool, a classroom tool, I think. So I'm glad to hear that you think it could be a useful tool for you. I'm going to just ask you to consider, let me just go to my next slide. Oh, look at that. We made it back without getting lost. I think there's potential for using Drive in a program for administration. Now, Deborah says she's been using it with her board for about 3 years, so that's a very good use. You can share documents very easily. You can work collaboratively on documents very easily. You could even work collaboratively on your budgets using Google Sheets. You can work collaboratively on presentations. If you, for example, were doing a presentation on behalf of your program for promotion purposes, and a lot of people were involved in making decisions about how that presentation might look, you can work on it together from anywhere, anytime. I think it also has the potential, and I don't know how you might feel about this, for saving student work. You could set up Google Drive for yourself and your students, have your students share work that they've done, and it can be saved. You can create folders for each of the students who are using it with you, and you can save work in there. It can be printed, you need not print it, it's there. Again, working collaboratively, I think, is one of its major benefits. It's very easy to share documents. It's very easy to work collaboratively on a document. Again, from anywhere and anytime. Google Forms, as I said, is one of my favorites because it allows me to create surveys and quizzes very, very easily and quickly. I don't need another tool. I don't need to buy anything. I don't need to download another thing. It's just there. Might not look as beautiful as I'd want it to look, but nevertheless, it's very useful and very quick and very easy to use. And it has that wonderful feature, I think, where if I do it in sections, I can ask a question. If a student gives me a response that is not accurate or correct, I can set it up so that answer will direct that student to an area in the form where they can see the areas that they need to work on or the ideas or concepts that they need to work on. I think that could be very helpful. I'm just going to take another drink of water. I also think it might be a very useful place to create and store and share lesson plans and resource lists within a program. So that everything is in one place and everybody has a drive. They can go in and get the shared materials. I think it has potential to be a very good sort of online filing cabinet for all those learning activities, lesson plans, resources that you use every day. And again, it can be shared right across your program, and you can work on it collaboratively. So that's my pitch for Google Drive. And I think, you know, it is a very useful tool. Again, I want to caution you that if you don't have admin rights in your program, it could be an issue about downloading it onto your computer because it is an exe file and you will need admin rights. But you could get the app on your device, on your mobile device, and use it on your private device. I think think we're pretty much done unless we have some questions, which I would love to get. I just wanted to, when I started talking about this, I told you that there were many other tools that you have a single point of access to through Google Drive. And those, the ones that I want to just quickly look at are Google Photos, Google Groups, Google Contacts. They're pretty self-evident. Google Photos, you can upload and share your photos there. Google Groups, you can create groups to be, you know, in touch with, you can, just as we do in Outlook or any other program like that. And Google Contacts, I can have all of my Google Contacts together in one place. Whoops. Google Drawing and Google My Maps are two that were a bit mysterious to me when I first saw them, and I'd had to do a little bit of investigation. Now, Matthias tells me that he has just unmuted everybody, so just in a minute or two, we can get some audio comments from you. If you have a mic and so on, that would be great. Just wanted to tell you about Google Drawing because I'm not really sure, again, about how this would be used in a literacy program, but I have a couple of ideas. It's a free web-based diagramming program. They suggest that it can be used for flowcharts, for organizational charts. If you were designing a website, for example, for your program, you could use it to create those wireframes. You know, when you're like the concept map of your website. You can use it for mind mapping. There are very good tutorials, by the way, for all of these things. Google support is fantastic. I have it in the list of resources. And also YouTube, the Google channel on YouTube, has really good video tutorials on how to use some of these utilities. So think about Google Drawing as if you were doing flowcharts, if you had to do an organizational chart for your organization, if you were thinking about how you'd like to develop or design your website. So again, it's worth looking at. I find it a bit complex, but that may be just how my brain works. But I know that I did find the tutorials very helpful. My Maps is another interesting utility. They say that you can import geographically specific data like addresses or place names or latitude or longitude on a map. You can draw shapes on maps. You can put place marks on maps. So again, I think it's where if you were wanting to do something about your local area, for example, in your program, if you had a unit about the geography of your local area or buildings in your local area, it might be worth looking at Google Maps. Now, I know that I said I was going to look at Google Hangouts, and I just didn't do it, did I? I don't know why. Okay, I went back to the right screen. Google Hangouts is this, well, I think it's a pretty fantastic utility. We use it at Alpha Plus to meet on the fly. We all sign into it in the morning. We chat on Google Hangouts. We have meetings on Google Hangouts, and I'm just going to show you how simple it is. So just bear with me again. Here's my Hangouts. Here are all my panics about not being able to record. Here are all the people that I'm in contact with. This is all it takes. I just click on somebody that I've got in my contacts, start a conversation. I'm going to go to Matthias because he's already here. Start a conversation. Click on him. There he is. I can chat. I can just go, hi Matthias, or I could decide that I would rather have a video chat with him. Then I can just go video and call him. I could have a phone call with him. I could have an audio call with him. So again, I think for the purposes of collaboration and communication, Google Hangouts is pretty wonderful. You can also put Google Drive documents right into the chat box and share them that way. So Google Hangouts is, although it's not, you know, not for everybody, because people tend to use Skype and those kinds of things, but I find this actually pretty wonderful. And as I say, we use it every day. Now, Matthias has unmuted everybody, so what I'd like to do now is play a trick on you. Oops, that won't help. I'm going to play a trick on you. Oops, there we go. I would like 3 things, 3 ways that you would use, that you think you might use Google Drive. If somebody could just tell us. You're unmuted, you have a microphone. Tell us one way that you think you might use Google Drive.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think I can use it as kind of a lesson with a student just to practice their writing, their typing skills.
Absolutely. Because you can actually see all of their edits. They can see all of their edits. They can see that's what happens in real life when you're creating a document, and you can go in and make suggestions as to, you know, what they might like to try to do. So I think it would be good. Yeah, I need 2 more because I've got 3 bullseyes up here. I got to hit them all. So I need a second one.
Daya says, Maria, that Google Docs is good for paragraph writing and editing.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. It really encourages editing in a way because it's so easy to do. So by all means, people can, and you can share it with your instructor, get feedback on it. So I just need 1 more.
For example, if we are working on a project, then we may want to create the agenda and then also use it for minutes.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah.
You could absolutely use it that way. That's a perfect use for it. Mm-hmm. You just create the doc and then you have your headings right there. You just pop the minutes in.
Yes.
And then you share it with everybody. You hit share and everybody's got it.
Very good.
It's very good. So I can take more. I can take more suggestions. Any takers? Even though I've only got 3 here, I will take more.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
If nobody has any comment.
That would be great.
Yes, I work for the YMCA, and I tried, let's say, for example, using the Google Classroom, and I couldn't register us because we are not secondary or elementary school.
Yeah.
Now, what you said is really interesting when it comes to creating forms, let's say quizzes or tests. Mm-hmm. And you also said that it could kind of track students' progress. Do you think that it would be possible to create somehow like some kind of type of Google Classroom without going through their model, through their program, the existing one, because obviously we cannot.
Yeah. No, it's a complication. I think it's possible. I mean, you'd have to be pretty creative. You could think about it not so much as Classroom, but Drive. What are the features? What are the features in Drive that you could put to use for yourself?
Yeah.
You could use it to store lesson plans and learning activities. You could use it to share those with students and have students work on them and send them back. You could create a folder for each student into which you put their work when it gets shared with you.
Okay.
You could do it that way.
Yes. I know that would be kind of going from 1 to 3, right? I just thought okay.
I mean, the Google Education piece, we're just getting our heads around. The Google Classroom piece. And does your organization have Google Apps for Education, and do you have access to those?
No, we are using something else.
Oh, are you using SharePoint or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Daya,
I have,
Maria,
sorry? Yes?
Maria, Daya has another suggestion. Utilizing images or PowerPoint presentations for a lesson on collocations, describing.
Yes. Yes. It would be fantastic. And if you used the audience response with your students, you can really check understanding. You can really make it an interactive presentation very easily using that feature. I just wanted to tell you that I put together a list of, well, I call them tips and tricks. They're just in. I put together a Google Drive, a list of resources, very short list. The Getting Started one is really good. It's just a basic overview. GCF Learn has tutorials on using Google Drive, which are fantastic. Super easy to use as an instructor and as a student, very accessible. The Google Support Center is really excellent. You do actually get really good, well-written, easy to understand information and help there. And each of the 4 that we looked at, if you go into that particular tool, they have templates. So there'll be a Google Doc template for book reports or for an essay. Google Sheets, they have spreadsheet examples. Google Forms, again, they have templates. So you can pick one that the design that you like based on design or layout. And again with Google Slides, they're templates. So what I'll do with these is, well, they're on this slide, of course, in the presentation, but I will put them into a follow-up email, so you'll have the live links, so you can follow those as you begin to work with Google Drive. So I think we're pretty much done, unless we have any more questions or comments, all of which would be very welcome. And if not, what I will ask you to do is to do our, please do our survey. I'm just going to put it into chat if that makes it easier to access, so that we know how we're doing and how we can improve. So there it is. Please fill out the form, and don't forget to visit our webinar section on our website. We have some pretty interesting webinars coming up in June, and I think we take July and August off, but then we're back in September. And I know that in June I'm going to be doing one on apps for iPads and Androids. So take a look at those. There will be other webinars into the fall. So again, they're all listed on that webinar section of our website. Thank you very much for coming. I'm sorry that there was a bit of bother at the beginning. It was just couldn't find the record button, quite literally. And I was giving thanks for Google Hangouts because that's where I connected with people who are smarter than me to get it figured out. Somebody has their hand up here now.
Yes, yeah. Milka.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Thank you very much again. I've been just wondering if Google Docs could be used for maybe recording students' audio answers. So if we are, let's say, for example, chatting, can I maybe record their audio?
Yeah, I'll have to figure out.
Okay.
I've never had a question like that before. I'm going to follow that up. I'm going to get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just give me your name, please, again, just so I send it to the right person.
Yes, it is Milka, M-I-L-K-A.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, Milka, thanks for a great question. And I'll get that figured out.
Mm-hmm.
day.